Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, please do me a favor and subscribe. It would really help us out. Now, let's get to that interview.
Are you recording that on camera then, right? Or are you just going to...
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got Gabrielle Carteris with me. So welcome, Gabrielle.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Excited to be here.
You know, I've got a group of friends that rarely, they're really good friends, but rarely get too excited about me podcasting. They're like, whatever, it's podcasting. But when I put out there that you were coming on, all of a sudden they were very interested.
That's very nice. I hope it was all for good.
It was all good. It was all good. They apparently had a little bit of a crush on you back in the 90s.
Oh, when I was, only 100 years old, and no. That's very kind, really. Let's say hi and thank you.
Well, I will, and they'll love that. But doesn't the 90s feel like it was, I mean, it feels like it was 50 years ago, but also like it was yesterday?
You know what? It's surreal. You're right. I think that's the perfect way to put it. I feel like it was actually 3 lifetimes ago.
Yeah.
Yet when I'm right in the middle of having the conversation, I'm like, that I can still recall it and talk about it. Feels like it's still happening. But no, it really feels like it was a long time ago for me, the 90s, for sure. And when we reference it, I was thinking, my life has been so expansive since that time. It's hard for me sometimes to go back to that, right? I can't wrap my brain around it all the time.
Yeah, I know. It makes no sense. And now all the fashions and everything, they've come back.
That's right. They have come back. I wear my hair like the guys did. No, I'm kidding.
I had the best hair in the 90s. 80s too, but I had, I kind of had the Sean Cassidy look, if you know Sean Cassidy, the feathered.
I think I like your hair better this way.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, when it started to go, because I didn't appreciate it when I had it. So one day it just left. But when it started to go, I was like, we're not doing that. I'm just shaving it.
Good for you. I think that's, you know what? Men have this thing about losing their hair. I say go for it. I mean, it looks younger. And if you only have part of it, it looks
older.
Yeah, it does. Now you look hip and cool.
Yeah.
That was your full intention, right? So
it was. I actually didn't have, it didn't bother me too much. When a little bit maybe at first when it starts to recede a little bit, but then I was like, what's the difference? I grew up with, my grandfather was a real big influence in my life, and he was bald. And I never thought there was anything. I loved him to death. So when I hear that guys have issues about losing their hair, or women think I'm like, really? Because I don't know. I think that is just not one of my issues when they lose their hair. But that's, a lot of women now are wearing their hair or shaving their head.
My husband said if I ever did that, because I said, honey, maybe I'll try that. No, I will not have that. So
you just have to make sure you don't have kind of a lumpy head.
Yeah.
Well, as long as your head's shaped okay. Well, that's true.
I mean, your head looks like it's very smooth, but how do you know?
Well, see, I think that, it's not too bad. Like when I go get my hair cut, they always say, oh, yeah, it's not bad. But then my wife says, when she cuts my hair, it's a little lumpy. So who knows?
Maybe she's just lumpy at cutting it or shaving it.
It takes her literally a minute and a half to cut it, and she hates it.
What do you mean she shaves it? She doesn't cut it.
Well, obviously she. It would take a long time if she tried to cut it, but she just shaves it. About every 10 days, she'll shave it for me.
Oh, that's love. That's love.
That's what I keep telling her. I'm like, I'll make it up to you in other ways. I'll make the coffee and do the dishes and all that.
You have good arrangements.
Don't you think with marriage, it's all about splitting up the duties? It doesn't matter how you split them, but both of you have to be taking your share.
How long have you been married?
We got married in 2008. We've been married together since 2005. So this was both of our second marriages. So we kind of had it figured out a little bit when we got to You
got
knew
together.
you weren't going to make the same mistakes, and you knew where you could be better.
That's right. It was mostly just, I knew where I could be better. And same with her.
That's great.
You know, you can, you know, as you get older, you know yourself better. So you're not trying to figure yourself out, which sometimes can put a strain on things.
Right.
You know, and then you can just kind of, we figured that stuff. I could write a book now, I think. You know what I mean? Because you figure it out.
Over 30 years now.
And congrats.
I love my husband, but we definitely, I think as you get older, I mean, it really, I love all the years together because your partnership, for me at least, it's become so much deeper, right? I mean, we have been together longer than we were the age we got married. And that's great. I said to my husband, I said, that's pretty that's amazing. That's over half our lives we've been together.
You grew up together.
Yeah. We're grown all together.
Well, and I really do think the longer you're together, if you enjoy being with each other, you just get better at complimenting each other.
Oh, it's great.
You know, it's so comfortable. You know, it's so comfortable. And I don't mean that. Some people think if you say comfortable, you mean boring, but it's not. It's just.
I don't mind being a little boring either. Just have to say that.
No, I'll say that too.
I always say to my husband, like, because he gets up really early in the morning, like at 5 a.m. We go to bed early, we eat early. I said, oh, honey, we're so boring. I'm so happy we're boring.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Well, it's all good. Everybody else can have the life, whatever that
looks
like.
What happens when you sleep in? You feel like you wasted the day. You're up at like noon. The day's over already.
Right.
And you know you're going to be tired at 5. That's going to happen regardless of when you get up.
Right. You're going to take a nap anyway.
Okay, so let me get started. So tell me a little bit about what got you into acting. You've been doing it for a while now. So what got you started? Why did you want to become an actress?
You know, I always did. When I was a little girl, I used to say, that's what I want to do. I used to dance when I was little. I was in ballet and I had a scholarship in San Francisco and I loved it. But I just always, that's what I wanted to do. I was lucky. I knew really early. You know, some people don't know for quite a while in their lives what they want, which is okay. But I just kind of knew that's what I wanted to do. And I'm just lucky, really lucky that I was able to make a living doing what I love, that I was able to make it happen.
Yeah, it's not an easy profession.
Oh, no, it's hard. It's harder now than it was. Like some things are easier because of technology and people can, you're not depending on the studios always making the projects. People can produce now, which is really exciting. But in other aspects, it's just more difficult. The idea of making a full, really good living, because it's just so many things going on out there. It's just different. It's a different time. But it's been, I don't know. I think it's been an incredible journey. I am really, I say my prayers at night and I always thank you, God, for just giving me a good life. Truly.
That's great. Yeah, because it really is a difficult profession. And I know you had spent some time over SAG, where you were president with SAG. Did you get into that as a way to kind of help other actors, or what was your reasoning to kind of get into that role?
Well, it was over 12 years ago. I was actually shooting a film and I was in a fight scene. I was partially paralyzed in real life. And so I actually, at that time when it happened, I was in Canada and I flew back to the United States and I was under treatment at UCLA. And I was asked to come and sit in the boardroom. I didn't know there were two unions called Screen Actors Guild and American Federation. I mean, I knew because they were my unions, but I didn't know members were a part of it. And when they asked me to come in, to sit in a meeting, and then I joined, I started, working with other members. I couldn't act at that time. I had lost my ability to speak clearly. And so sometimes whatever. So, and I was really deformed. So I literally just had time for the first time in my life. I was working full time before that as an actor. And I started sitting in on meetings with both unions. And then I got onto their boards. And then I was a part of a group around the country who wanted to merge the union. So I became a part of, it's called a Group for One Union. And I traveled the country to bring people together and we merged the unions. It was a big thing. And then I became the first, it was nothing planned. If I tell you a million times, if you said, you know, Gabrielle, this is going to be your destiny, I'm like, no, what are you talking? I don't even know what you're talking about. But I went from being, you know, an actor, and I've always been pretty much an advocate. But when I got injured, I was exposed to a whole new part of my industry, which was my unions. And then I got involved, you know, I'm a part of the AFL-CIO on the executive committee, and I became, I went from the national executive vice president of SAG-AFTRA, our new merged union, to, you know, our president during that time was Ken Howard, and he died.
Yeah.
Negotiations that I was leading. And then I became, you know, I was the temporary, you know, standing president. And then in elections, I went through 3 election cycles or 2. And I did for like 5.5 years, the presidency, but I never ever imagined. And now I'm the president of FIA, which is the International Federation of Actors, representing actors all over the world. And that's a outcome of this. I mean, I just got off the phone, you know, on a Zoom call with the AFL-CIO. I love being an actor, but I believe in service.
Yeah.
And do it for free. And it's really been a really incredible journey to be of this kind of service. It's been great.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So you were injured during a fight scene. Was that what caused it?
Yeah, I was the lead in the movie, and they had this guy who came in as a day player, and he was like 6'5", and I'm, you know, 5. When I did actually a TED talk on it, and I said, you know, there was like a 12, you know, 17, whatever inch differential. And I said to the director and the producers at the time, did you guys not look at my resume to see the difference of our height? But he, in the fight scene, comes from behind me and he drags me down the stairs, but he continued to lift me by my neck. To one point, I was in so much pain. I said, oh,
it's awful.
And then I just started to become deformed. It was really bad. And then I couldn't talk. I lost my ability to speak, and I had to fly back to the States. And then I was just in treatment for a couple of years, but I did a lawsuit because they knew he had a history of violence. They didn't tell me.
Oh my gosh.
And so he had a restraining order. He was known to be violent. And so then I won the case. And when I won the case, I talked to my husband about paying it forward. Like, you know, this is a time that I should be of service, because my union helped me during my time, and we need to help others. And so it was a very, you know, was it when God closes a door, he opens a window, or she does.
Yeah.
So.
Isn't that amazing that it works that way? Because if that hadn't happened, you probably wouldn't have went into those type of roles.
No, I would have just continued working on my path, trying to make it happen, and say, I don't have time. And, you know, it's just, I think that life is very interesting, right? You just got to be open for the ride, for sure.
If you keep your eyes open when something bad happens, to me, it almost never fails. Something good's coming. You just have to be open to it.
Yeah, it's life. You got to live in the world of yes.
So in those roles, I mean, because I know you have elections, you get elected to those roles. Do they get contentious? Are they very political, like regular political elections?
Yeah, that's I think the most uncomfortable part for me, because I'm not. I really am a person of service, so the politics was very that was very confusing for me, and it's. But you know, I really think that if I just had to keep on my path to do service, that's what it is. I think that when politics happen, you just got to not be a part of the politics. You got to know it lives there, and then just do the work, and that's really what I try to do. So
we need you to call some people in Washington right now. Maybe give them that advice.
Let me get on that right now. I'm sure they're going to listen to me. You who? No, I'm sorry.
You pick your party. You could probably do good on either side.
I say let's find another party, because this is not working out. It's been really.
It's not working out.
It's not.
Did I see that you had trained a little grown up with mime?
Oh, with mime? Yes, I did. I traveled through Europe doing mime, and I was.
How did that come about?
You know, I was. My mom had a friend who had this grew. I have no idea. I was in high school, and they asked, I was 16, I guess. And I just became a part of this team. And then they went to Europe and I went with them. And then I came back and I created, because I was too young to vote at the time, I created a team so that we could raise money for different, political things that we believed in. And I don't know, it just happened. And then when I tell people I did mime, it's like, we want to kill mimes. I'm like, well, it was really great for me. I traveled through Europe and I met amazing people, and
it
amazing. It was fun.
I didn't know that was of course, there's mimes. I didn't know that you could travel and do that.
People want to see it.
When you get upset with your husband, do you like go and put yourself in a box, that type of thing? And
no,
because I would totally use that as a weapon.
Mine has not become a part of our conversation for sure. Maybe it should sometimes. No, okay.
Have you ever got to play a mime in a role?
No.
How about a ballet dancer?
No, I've done the high wire.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I did. I trained for the high wire so that I did do that in when I was on 90210. They utilized that, knowing I had done that. But no, never as a ballet dancer and never as a mime. As a doctor, as a lawyer, as a murderer, I've done all that, but I haven't done.
How about maybe we develop a show where you're playing a mime that's down on their luck and they accidentally fall into solving crime.
Oh, I think let me write that down. I'm sure it's going to sell. Netflix will be buying that yesterday.
It's a role you never speak.
Never. Well, that would be good. I don't have to worry about memorizing lines.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all in the eyes.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly how you'd solve the crime without speaking, but we figure it out. Yeah. Yeah, that's terrible. So I have been watching We Own the Night, or We Own the City. Mm-hmm. I was a big Wire fan, so I was really excited when that came out. But you're really good on there. I was pleasantly surprised when you showed up.
Oh, is that nice? It was that was the day I announced that I was not running for president again. And I got
really?
And I felt like that was God really saying, Gabrielle,
right choice.
There you go. And it was really, I had to say, David Simon had talked to me when I got the role saying, this is a real person that actually he had worked with prior years ago when he was a journalist himself and a reporter. And he said unfortunately, she retired during this process, but she was a big part of it. So I was really excited to be able to, it really was. It was to be able to work with the people that I worked with, Ronaldo, the director, who is just awesome. And the cast was, it was humbling. It was really exciting. Incredible respect. And David and, George both went and they had like therapists on set for the actors, because some of them were really digging deep, dark stories. And the actors was really interesting. Some of them who came from The Wire, but they talked about the reason they were willing to do this story was because of from David and Helen also, but David and George, and they said that the reason they were willing to do it was because they trusted them, that they would be safe, because it's really hard. A lot of these guys actually came from the street, and their stories, they know these stories, and it's hard to go in front of a camera and live that story, right? I mean, I had such incredible respect for the people on that show, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, it's really surprising the emotions that show brings out.
Yeah,
it's a very emotional show, which to me was not really, because I've watched his work before, and it all tends to do that, but just for more of a police show, you're not expecting to have all the strings pulled like that.
No, it's really, and I'm telling you, he told the story straight up, like he wasn't fabricating. It was a great experience. And that was courageous. I mean, that was HBO, that 222 cast members. Can you imagine? Wow. That's a limited series, and they put everything in it. That's how much they trusted him and the story. So that was great.
Yeah, that's pretty terrific. We talked with Trey Chaney, came on a week or so ago, and he was terrific and just thrilled to death that he got to play a role, because it was, in The Wire he was on the other side of it. This side he got to play the police officer. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Trey is a great guy. And he is a very ambitious man, and he really works hard. He works hard for his life. He really is, he's great. He's really great. I actually just recruited him to go speak in Baltimore for their AFL-CIO, to speak to youth out there. I said,
that's great.
Hey, you're an inspiration. I mean, what he's gone through in his life. And I said, tell your story, man. Like, let people know, if they can see the possibility of what they can be, that will inspire them to reach for it. And he was like, I'm there. He's going to do it. And I'm so proud of him. Really. Yeah,
that's terrific. And he's got a great story. And he's so busy. I don't know how he gets it all done.
Yeah, he thrives on it. I've never seen, first of all, he's got the busiest social media thing in the world going on. I'm not much like that. I kind of put stuff, he's like, he is busy. And he is busy working. He's busy loving his family, and he is busy trying to make the next thing happen. And he was willing. My hat goes off to him, because he really does live in the world of yes. And I really believe that you can tell those who do that. And then there are those people who always say, wish it coulda, woulda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's good for him.
Yeah, that's so hard to do.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I would like to say that I'm in the world of yes, but I'm too scared for that.
We'll get you in the world. Yeah. Life is too short. We learned a lot during this pandemic, man. Life is
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. No, I've gotten better at it, which is part of the reason this podcast exists, because I'm an introvert. It just in in normal life, introvert. I get very uncomfortable talking with people, and especially in front of groups. Yeah. But with this podcast, I figured out, I actually like talking. I just had to get over the fear of it.
Right. I'm with you. I'm the same way.
Are you really? Are you an introvert at heart?
I'm an introvert extrovert, right? Like, I'm okay on whatever to be in a group, but it's hard to do it like constantly, because part of me is quiet, and I love to listen, love to hear what people have to say. I'm a little bit of a voyeur.
Yeah, I share that a little bit. Do you, like, when you need to recharge, do you tend to do it, in more of a quiet space?
I do. I either do my yoga, or I love to be with my family. My family recharges me. My friends and family are really very important for me. It's really my rock and my anchor.
Yeah, that's terrific. Yeah, they're so important. And that's what I tell, the kids and grandkids is, being with them, that doesn't count as, that still counts as me recharging. Yeah. I've got 4.
Oh my God.
They're all young though.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I won't ask you on your podcast how old you are, but
I'll tell you, 52.
Well, you were a young grandpa. Young.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, the oldest one just turned 3. So we've got 3, 2.5, 2.
Oh my God.
Almost a year.
I know. I'm not, when my girls need a little more time, but when they are ready, I loved my grandparents. They helped raise me. Yeah. I always, when I was little, I used to say, I want to skip parenthood and go right to grandparents, because I know that love is, I love that I'm a parent now, but with that love as a grandparent, it's
the best.
Oh my God. I know it's going to be the best.
Yeah, it's the best. And like, I love being a parent, but being a grandparent's even better. Totally. Because you get like all the good.
Right.
Yeah, and then send them home.
There you go. I'm ready. Not quite yet. It's ready.
Yeah, Wednesday's my day with the grandkids. So I get the 4 of them on Wednesdays, and it's exhausting, but just the best.
That's great. That's really great.
I wanted to give them a space where, because they all live close. They're all within a few minutes away. And I wanted to give them that time, when I was growing up, I was very close with my cousins, and I wanted them to have that bond, so try to get them together as much as I can.
That's great. Oh my
Yes.
God. You have trips to Disneyland and
No.
oh my God, camping trips. You got it all happening. It's going to be great.
Yeah. No, it's going to be terrific, and they're all close in age. So I should make it fairly fun and easy.
That's great.
Well, easy is probably not the right word. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting, but it's fulfilling. There you go.
Isn't it so great though when they're young like that? They just everything's good.
Yeah.
They're just
they're really in the moment, right?
They're in the moment.
Tomorrow, and they don't know about yesterday. This is it right here.
They're in the moment. You have no doubt where you stand with them. They recover very fast if something does bother them. It doesn't last long. It's just, I don't know. I wish I could go back to that. It's pretty amazing.
You know what? Right now I'm going to close my door. Is that all right?
All right. So we should probably talk about 90210. And we'll have people on this coming on the podcast. They'll be like, you guys never even mentioned 902.
Well, if I can remember anything about it, I'll share that with you. Okay.
Oh my gosh. That show was such a phenomenon. Still kind of is. But back then, it was a little different, I think, before all the streaming and the internet and all of that stuff, because you had actual appointment TV, right. And you would get together in groups sometimes and watch shows, and you would talk about it the week in between. Plus you got 26 episodes or so a year.
Oh, so appointment television was a very different experience. We always talk about appointment television versus streaming, but I hadn't thought about the fact that actually you lose the community from streaming, right? Everybody watches in their own time, like maybe it's late at night or early in the morning, right. Whatever you do. But appointment television, that one great thing was everybody did come together. Everybody came to experience together and then share that experience. They either partied while they walked. I heard all the different stories. People used to say the drinking game. They did all this stuff, but it was a thing that
an event.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really miss those times. Although you get together in a group, I don't know how much of the episode you actually paid attention to, but it was a fun time.
And I wouldn't know. I was on the other side of that.
Well, and back then you got one shot to watch it. Mm-hmm. If you missed the episode, you were stuck probably till summer and hope that they showed a rerun.
Right.
So it was very important that you carved out that time as part of your day, where now, you just watch it whenever you get the time, which is convenient, but I don't think it's fun.
Well, I think we should go right to the studio. No.
Let's dial it back. Let's tell them we got to reverse the trend.
That's right. Not going to happen.
How did 90210? How did that come about? It was fairly, I won't say early in your career. It's been a while, but you've done some things before then. But how did that role come about?
I actually did more stage than anything. I did a little bit of television, but I was living in New York at the time, and I came out to Los Angeles for what they call pilot season, which has changed now. But it was the third time I had come out, and I was staying with a friend. I literally was sharing a bed with her. I had a box of my things. I had no money. And I would go across the street to the payphone at the gas station to call my manager every day in New York to see if I had an audition. And I literally had no money. And then giving time away. There was no cell phone kind of thing going on really. And then I auditioned for this show called Class of Beverly Hills at the time. And I was thousands of people. I mean, I to this day don't know how it happened. I can't tell you. I was up for the role of both Brenda and Andrea, and they brought me into network for both of the characters. And then I booked Andrea, and I had to tell you it was. I don't know how it happened. I don't know what it was, but it was I knew I had been offered at the time this show, and there was another show I was offered
with Dr. Ruth Westheimer. Dr. Ruth Westheimer, Swedish speaking. She had a series that she was, and they wanted me to do it in New York. It was 6 episodes, guaranteed. And I said, no, I don't want to do it. And years later, I said, I want to do 90210. Aaron Spelling, are you kidding? He did Love Boat. He did Charlie's Angels. Everything he touches is gold. Yeah. And I didn't want it. And I was so lucky that I made that choice because Dr. Ruth's show it failed. And I saw her years later. And I said, I was supposed to be in that series that you did. She said, very good for you. You did not do that show. It was terrible. I was glad you did the other.
That's a good Dr. Ruth, actually.
Yeah. So
you did an episode of Love Boat.
I did that when I was really pregnant. Aaron had me do that. And yes, I did. That was the revised Love Boat.
Yeah, that was the, whatever they called that, the reboot or the new one.
Right.
The next generation, whatever.
The Love Boat that sank. No, I'm kidding. Sorry. It was.
I remember you doing a ton of after school specials.
Yeah, I did. I did a lot of those when I lived in New York.
Yeah.
And then they don't do those anymore now, right? So then they went into movies of the week, and then those don't really happen now. Now you have, it's so interesting how the industry is just transformed. They don't do the after school specials were great, but that was really my first kind of entryway in. I did a soap opera, Another World at the time.
Oh, that's right.
I had a reoccurring for a short while, but I did primarily stage in New York.
Yeah.
That was really when I came out here, and 90210 changed my life. I will always, where some people wanted to shy away from it, I was like, it was phenomenal. I mean,
yeah,
it was a gift.
Yeah. Pretty terrific. Would it have been different if you had played Brenda?
I think Brenda would have probably been different, right? Because in the end, they started to write. They took a lot of our personal things and put it in. So, for a show to last that long, so our personalities, it would have been so different. Shannon and I are very different. So
yeah,
it would have been different. So maybe it was very successful the way it was meant to be.
That's right. It was meant to be. But I always think that's kind of fascinating when you look back, because that happens a lot where you have actors will audition for different roles on the same show, and then they get one of those. I'm always curious about, well, what if it went the other way? Would that have completely done it?
Sometimes if you're called in for 2 roles, that could be the kiss of death. It means you'll get neither one of them. So I was pretty happy. I was like, oh, thank you, God. Because it means they're confused, right? Don't be confused. Give me the role.
And it's probably different because at that time we didn't have cell phones, but are you in any group chats from shows?
No, there are individuals that I'm close to. So for instance, for We Own the City, there's a couple of the cast members that I worked with and I really enjoyed, and I continue on. And from 90210, some of them, we continue on, but not in a group chat. That's because that's I don't know. It's unless we're planning an event together or something, it's, like any relationship, usually, unless you're in group chats with all your friends all the time. We're not, but
no, I'm not. I don't have those either, but I've heard of that, especially on some of the newer, like the comedy sitcoms and stuff. They'll have a little cast chat.
Oh, that's what they're doing for the show, I guess. Right. But once I'm out of those shows now. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Unless I had an event going on, there wouldn't be any reason for me to.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. Yeah. No group chat for you.
No.
So my son, Brett, who is the real genius behind this podcast, he does all the hard stuff. He said, make sure you mention that she played Vicky Vale in Brave and the Bold with Batman. He said he knew. He said you voiced Vicky Vale. So I was like, okay, I'll bring it up.
People remind me when I've gone to things and I've done so much stuff that wasn't like my main job. So I forget. And somebody told me, I'm like, oh my God, I did that. I forgot. I played Electra.
That's right. You were in a video game, right?
Right. And then I met Stan Lee. This is like a real reveal, right? So at Comic-Con, they have me come out and I'm on stage. I'm sitting next to this older gentleman and everybody is screaming for him. And I'm like, who is this guy? This is Stan Lee. I'm sitting next to Stan Lee. I could just hit myself for not knowing. I'm like, oh my God, I had no, and of course now I know who he is, but then I was just so, I just had no idea. So that's my real reveal. What a nerd.
That's pretty good. So in the 90s, I owned a couple comic book stores. So that's how I put myself through school, which was great until I got married. And then I discovered that comic book stores could not really pay for a married lifestyle. But as a single college guy, it worked. But I used to do conventions all the time. And Stan Lee would show up here and there. And at that time, all you had to do was wait in line. And you would normally get a few minutes with him, each person, because it was just different. But now they've become so big that even before he passed, if you got in a line to see him, you might get a few seconds, and you're probably having to pay some money to do that.
Yeah.
You didn't do that back then.
They charge for everything. I think it's wild. That's also, I have very mixed feelings about all that. I feel badly about it. And then, that's a way a lot of actors who've come from hit shows, that's a lot of ways they can go and make some ancillary money. Yeah, it's great.
And I think that's okay. I mean, some of it just depends on how you do it. Some of it is a little overpriced. I think there's a fair price in there for the fans. And I've run into a few actors that they won't let you take pictures.
Right.
You can buy the pictures, but you can't take the pictures. And I don't know about that. Some of that, I think there's a balance in between that, interacting with fans, because fans can be a lot.
That's what you should write a book on.
I could probably do that.
That would be a book that people would really, fans could be a lot.
Yeah. Fans, they can be a lot. They can be a lot. Yeah. Do you have like the terrible fan story?
I don't know if they're terrible. I mean, I've had moments that were, I am, because I'm also a little shy at private life. So I'm not one to be totally out there and stuff. So there have been times when, like, I was in Israel and doing an appearance, and people were trying to like climb through our hotel windows, and we had to have like a lot of security.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that the fame of our show, there's a lot of, I mean, look, I don't need to, it's just, it can be tough. Some people really have no boundaries.
Right.
It's one thing to say, man, I think, love your work, and to come up and say. Another thing to, I was on the street crying when my mom, had been very sick, and I was listening. They were telling me at the hospital what was going on, and I'm like crying, and this woman's like, oh my God, it's you. And I'm like sobbing. I'm like, she was like, she couldn't get that was probably not the time to be coming up to me.
Yeah, just no awareness of what's going on.
Or if you're in the bathroom and people try to come in the bathroom and you're there, and like, you know what? This is a private room, private moment. Be honest, right? But other than that, I have to say it's so much more good than there is all of that stuff, right? I have no confusion that a lot of where I've been able to go to is because of the support of our fans.
That's right.
So I say thank you.
The majority is positive, but the boundary issue, I think some people unfortunately have a real problem recognizing that there are. I mean, you wouldn't do that to just someone else, just some stranger, but because they see you on TV.
Can I come in your bathroom? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God.
We're like, well, come on.
Let's go. Do I hand me the toilet paper? No.
Yeah, I guess we're doing this now. Let's go.
That's gross.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. Do you still do the voice work?
I do. I just did a radio play, which was really fun for me.
Nice.
That was really. It was called The Murder Years, and they're doing some of the edits on it, but that was really fun for me. I really enjoyed it. And so I've just started, when I got injured, I did all voice work before that, but then I lost my ability to speak for a couple of years. And so I had to go back to, being able to, I had to do all these things to be able to start speaking again. So now it's about kind of rebirthing my voice work again. So that was really fun to do the radio plays.
Yeah. I love that those are starting to happen again, because that was part of my childhood. You still had the shows on the radio. You had that kind of, you'd move to TV, but they were still doing some of those radio shows, and they were great. I love it.
Right? Audiobooks are great.
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of, I'm starting to do dubbing for Netflix now, because, there's so much since particularly, it was starting before. All of our product used to go out to, the rest of the world, and they would dub us. But now you saw, particularly during the pandemic, all this production that's all over the world is coming here. And I think the dubbing has been terrible. I'm like appalled by hi, Michael, and blah, blah, blah. So I actually talked to Netflix, and I said, I really want to get into this. So I was a part of negotiating a deal for our members at one point. And then now it's covered work. And I went, and I just now started to really do that work. And I might start directing it as well, because I really think that there's an art there there's great projects all over the world. We don't speak those languages, but not everybody could read and watch. It's too many things going on for some people, and your screens are different. We have our phones, so that's not big enough. Anyway, so I do voice work, but I'm doing different kinds of voice work now than I used to do.
I love the dubbing thing. That's because you're right. A lot of the stuff you watch, because we love to watch foreign TV shows and movies, and a lot of times I would just as soon have the subtitles because the dubbing is so bad.
Oh my God, I'm like shocked. I'm like, are you kidding? Oh my God. And it's not about the mouth matching. It's about the acting. Is like, I want to say hello.
Yeah, that's it. It's you get used to the words not quite matching, the movement, but the acting isn't close, and you're just like, I don't know who chose that, but I think I'll subtitle that one.
Why is a man's voice in my
So I wanted to ask you about Boone.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't realize that this was out there, but tell me a little bit about this movie and what your role is in it, because it looks really interesting.
It's a really small role, actually. Neil McDonough, who's an actor.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. So I met Neil a long time ago. He called me during the pandemic, which was, and he said, look, I'm doing this project. Ken was supposed to play this character, Ken Howard. He wrote it for him.
Oh.
Ken was 6'7", right? He was like a behemoth man. And he said, but, he said, when I thought about it, he said, why shouldn't you do it? He said, you're not, it would be interesting. So it was because it was during the pandemic, and we had put protocols in place so that people could work. I thought I would love to go. First of all, I needed to get away from being inside my house every day, working from, we were working from 7 till like midnight at night, just making sure that we can try to find a way to get everybody, keep them safe. And so, because we wanted to keep the industry open, people were doing everything. And
we're so glad you did too, because we needed stuff to watch.
Well, and I needed to be, so when they asked me to do it, I said, sure, I'll go out and do it. I mean, literally it was like, I think I did 1 or 2 days. They were the nicest people. And what I loved about the project, Derek was the director on it, but the cast I thought was really great, but they actually had several roles that had been initially written for men that they converted to women.
That's
and I
great.
thought, that is really dynamic. Like, that's good for you. Because you know what? Not all characters, I fight for inclusion in a lot of different ways, but people get like, they think a doctor is a man, they think a lawyer is this or that, but it's not about, unless that's the storyline about, the man who did this thing, it could be a lot of different people. And that's what I loved about this project. They were just open to be inclusive, and it was fun. And they were really good about keeping the protocols. We were all safe, but it was so good to be with people. I felt like for almost 2 years, I had lived in total isolation. My husband goes to work. He's a financial guy, and it was considered, what was it? The necessary, whatever. So he was allowed to come in. So I was literally alone for like 2 years. And I was like, when they asked me to do it, I was like, yeah, I'll do that right now. It was fun. It was a really good time.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's when I was reading the description, I was like, "Ooh, that's one I want to watch."
I have to tell you, I think they did great work, and one of the women, I'm trying to think of her name, who was in it. I mean, she was so, I can't think of her name. She was, I mean, wonderful. Everybody in the cast, actually, it was a great cast. And Neil is just a great guy. He's just such a down-to-earth, really family guy, loves his family, loves his friends, and he loves his work.
He's talented.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good. Do you think, I know we got to wrap up, but do you think that Hollywood as a whole is becoming more inclusive the last few years? Because just as a fan, seems like it's starting to change a little bit.
Yeah, I think, I think there are definitely changes going on. There's changes. I know in my presidency, we really fought for certain changes. I think that there is more inclusion and diversity, but what I think is the most important thing is to not make it a fad, right? It can't be a momentary blip, like we're all in this like woke moment and then it's done. I think there has to be where it's second nature that everybody's considered, everybody, whether you're a person of color, person with disabilities, sexual orientation, whether you're white, it doesn't matter. I mean, everybody should be considered, and I don't believe should be a hierarchy. So I think there is a shift, but the fans have to keep demanding it, and and we have to keep. I think younger people are going to be the big contributors to making sure we have inclusion and diversity, because they're much more open and less,
right. They're not as rigid.
Right.
With that stuff. I know a few years ago, my wife and I would comment because it would almost seem like things were getting forced in and it didn't really fit. Right. It wasn't that well done, honestly. But now, you're just watching a show or watching a movie, and it's just everything. It doesn't matter because it just fits.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the difference I'm seeing. There for a while, it just felt like stuff was getting thrown in that didn't really fit and it wasn't well done. It was just to say that it was there.
Right. They wanted it was tokenism. And so but I think if you really are telling a good story, and it's not about any of that, you just bring in really good storytellers and you don't have that prejudice. I think it opens up the universe, right? You have to. You just have to find ways to create access, because a lot of people, are taken from the same places over and over again. A great story Ryan Murphy talks about. He has the Half Foundation, and he talked about when he did the Joan and Betty, series, or the limited series. And he talked about, he tried to have a female director because it's a female project. And then at the last minute, he had somebody and she fell out. He ended up directing it and it got all these awards. And then he felt incredible shame. And he said, because, I talk about inclusion all the time. And he said, but when I was looking to replace, he said, I went to the same place I always look. So that means the same people who were there, they weren't available. So then suddenly I said, oh, there's nobody, I've got to do it. And he said, what I didn't do was say, you know what? I'm not looking hard enough. I have to take a little bit more time. And I think people are starting to look harder. I think people, I think that was an aha moment, and it's important. We have to create access points that we never considered before.
Yeah, that's terrific. And I love the fact that it's not just in front of the camera, it's everything going on behind the camera too is getting better. So that's terrific. Well said. Well, Gabrielle, thank you so much. This has been just a terrific one for me. I was so looking forward to this. I knew you'd be just the best to talk to, and you were.
You're so kind. Thank you. Thank you. Really nice to meet you.
Oh, so nice to meet you. A couple quick things before we wrap up. Anything you're working on that we haven't talked about that we can keep an eye out for?
No, I'm just about to do a favor to shoot a project next week, actually, for it's called Middle of Nowhere. A great woman director, writer, and she couldn't launch it, so she self-financed it. And I have to tell you, it's great. Mark Espinoza, who played my husband in 90210, is actually in this. He's also in a new series. Oh my God, you have to look this up. I'm going to have to look it up right while we're here.
All right, look it up. I'm going to write it down so I don't forget.
Because you should have Mark on.
I'd love to have Mark on. Big fan of his.
He's unbelievable, but it's called Endgame.
Oh,
And Game is a new series and it's hot. They are very excited about it. And so he just finished shooting. He's going back to New York. I think they've picked it up. I'm going to be finding out. But anyway, he's in it. And so they said, would you come in and do his thing with Mark? I said, yeah, I'll totally do that. So, you know what? I'm here in the world of yes. I'm here in the world of go for it.
Well, you said yes to us and came on the podcast.
Well, I really appreciate your asking. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been terrific. Where can we find you on social media?
You can find me, Gabrielle Carteris. You can go. That's where I am for Instagram, and I think it's Gabrielle the _ Gabrielle Carteris. Yeah,
you're pretty easy to find. If you put your name in, it was popping up.
I have the check mark off. So, if you look for me, mine's the real one is the one with the check mark. That's mine.
Do you go on some of the fake ones?
No, I don't go on that much stuff. First of all, I didn't know they had that stuff. And some of the things that are said, I don't want to see that stuff. I'm like, what is that? No, I have not. Have you gone on those? Should I look at those?
No. I haven't went on them either. If there was, fake ones of me out there, I would probably be on there.
No. I used to, when I first got into social media, I would look at stuff, but some of it is really, I'll say stuff and then I don't really look a lot because there's a lot of trolls and there's a lot, people who are, and I don't have the heart for it. I'm not.
Yeah, no, it's a, you can get lost in there pretty quick.
Yeah. I see that with my kids. So there you go.
All right, Gabrielle, hold on one second. Well, I really enjoyed that, Gabrielle Carteris. I hope you guys had a good time with that one too. She's so nice, and she's done so much for actors. As president of the union, she's really done a lot for them. And we talked about it a little bit, but I probably didn't give that enough time because it's pretty amazing the service, as she puts it, that she's put in. Pretty terrific. Such a fan of hers. And there were so many things that I wanted to ask her about, but we talked. Can't do these forever. Got to let them go at some point. So we'll have to have her back on so we can get into a few more things. But really, really enjoyed that. So I hope you guys did too. If you haven't yet, we could really use the help on our YouTube channel, MeisterCon Pod. If you could subscribe, be the biggest help to us. We're trying. We go and we work on getting great actors, musicians, theater people onto the show. And in order to do that, we need to say, hey, we've got this many viewers, this many followers. Would you like to do the show? And that really helps us out. So YouTube is one that we're really pushing to try to increase those subscriptions on. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, just a click. And I guarantee we are just a couple away now from our 400th episode. There's a ton of people on there you are going to love. So just check it out. YouTube, MeisterCon Pod. Please check that out. You can find all 400 of those episodes, audio and video, on our website, meistercon.com. If we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, if we're covering a convention, all that will be on the website. Brett does just a terrific, geeky, fun blog. It's so well written. That's on there as well. I know you'll enjoy that. He's just been putting up his reviews on some of the Star Wars stuff. So it's really good. Check that out, meistercon.com. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody.